All right, everybody. We are gearing up for the final UFC pay-per-view, at least for the foreseeable future, everybody. UFC 323 closing out the ESPN pay-per-view era, and it is a pretty darn good card. I'm looking forward to it. Is this going to be one of those events that draws in a massive casual audience? Probably not, but for us hardcore mixed martial arts fans, for us hardcore UFC fans who don't miss a single event all year round, this is a pretty darn good card. History could be in the making for Merab Dvalishvili, looking for his fourth successful title defense of 2025. He defends the bantamweight championship against its old pal Petr Yan in the main event. In the co-main event, Alexandre Pantoja looking for his fifth Flyweight championship defense. He's taking on the surging Josh Van, who competes for the fifth time in a 12-month span. And then a pretty darn good main card and some prelims that have some stakes or some storylines. All in all, not too shabby on paper. So welcome to the UFC 323 preview show. I am Mike Heck, and joining me to discuss this event on paper, the significance, what it could all mean, is the co-host, the co-matchmaker from On to the Next One, the Prince of Positivity, but most importantly, my best friend, the one and only Alexander K. Lee, AK. Happy Friday afternoon, my friend.
What's up, my best friend? This card is so good. This card is so good. Like, the more I look at it, I'm like, damn, I am super pumped to cover this for MMAfighting.com. Even if I wasn't, I would definitely include this in the pay-per-view budget. We've raised this question multiple times, I think, this year. I can't remember if I started asking this last year, but like, if you could only buy 7, UFC pay-per-views, they do what, 14 a year. So if you can only buy half, which ones would make the list. I'll have to do a full sort of accounting and go back and see some of the cards we've had, because we've had some awesome pay-per-views. We've definitely had like 2 or 3 that on paper we were like, you could save your money. If you have a budget, you could save your money. I want to say this one would make the cut. Again, I don't know how many I've already said, because if I've said 7 already, then it's not really fair to put this on there, is it? But if I haven't, I think this is such a good card. Mike, we to give you a little info here. Like, we were kind of trying to do before the show, trying to figure out like what fresh angles can we sort of come up with here, because we've sort of talked about this fight to death, this card to death. We've seen Dvalishvili and Yan fight before. I mean, it is a new matchup. Of course, they're not the same guys, but we've seen it. We are rehashing a fight from a little over 2 years ago. It's not like it was ancient history, but certainly long enough ago. We've talked about, how great Pantoja is, how overlooked he is. We talked about Van. Well, God, what an incredible story. His rise to the top from 2020, fighting in 2021, how young he is. Like, we talked about it so many times. So we'll try and find some like fresh stuff here. I have a question. And I'll let the fans chime in too. Let's say this kind of card, it's hard to kind of place these names in a different era, but let's say this was early, let's say late 2000s, early 2010s, when UFC was at its like peak sort of selling pay-per-views, where like, a bad UFC pay-per-view sold like 350,000, right? I mean, this was the golden age of UFC pay-per-view time. Let's say we were in that era, and let's say we had Merab, Pantoja in a card like this. Mike, how many pay-per-view buys does this do? Pre-streaming, there's no streaming, it's only pay-per-view. How many pay-per-view buys does this do peak UFC pay-per-view time? Conor McGregor, let's say, let's go forward a little bit. Like, Conor McGregor's around. People are just snatching up pay-per-views left and right. How does it do, Mike?
Probably below average.
What is it? Below 500?
Oh, for sure. This does below 500.
Ouch.
No doubt about it. But it's not because it's bad. It's just those big selling pay-per-view cards. It was either like during COVID where there's no other sports. And, Masvidal at the time when he stepped in to fight Usman, that was like a really big deal for that Fight Island card. So like that did really well on pay-per-view because Masvidal was so over and he took the fight on 4, 5, 6 days notice, and he had to cut all the weight, and there were other title fights, and it was like, wow, this is this unbelievable Fight Island thing that Dana told us about, because no other sport, no other entity had the guts to put on an event. And then, if we look at like Conor Habib and like John Jones, Daniel Cormier, and Conor anybody, like those were the ones that did over, that were either close to 1 million or well over 1 million. And then you have like, I guess your GSPs, your Brock Lesnar's, like some of those are big. Some of them were like, 700,000-800,000. And then, you get some cards like this where, it's just high level stuff, but the lower weight classes typically don't sell particularly well. And now you have two of the very best to compete in either of these two divisions. As great as they are, they're just very respectful, very good fighters. And the type of things that sell pay-per-views, at least getting it over that threshold, or was trash talk or bottles being thrown or slaps in the face or things of that nature. And you're not getting any of that here. And you also mentioned the main event is a rematch from a fight that was not competitive. It was not competitive at all. But Jan has done the work to get back to it, and Merab just is beating everybody, and now he's lapping them a second time because he's already run through the entire division. So it is a card that signifies sort of greatness, not just from the present and in some cases the future, but even the past. When you look at Brandon Moreno being a two-time champion, what Henry Cejudo has accomplished, and Jan Blachowicz was a former champion, and now you're getting sort of the new era of guys coming up and getting their chances, like Jan and Taira and Talbot and Bogdan Guskov. So it's like Jed sort of laid it out perfectly. This is one of those like perfect end of era cards where it's like the UFC didn't give you everything. Like, you're not getting Ilya, you're not getting John Jones, you're not getting Max Holloway, you're not getting the star power, but you are getting damn good fights, and you're getting a lot of storyline, and you're getting a lot of high level stuff. So I just think this is one of those, like, in the prime era, 350,000, like probably a DJ main evented kind of a card sales, maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know how much of a draw. Like, we kind of danced around a little bit. Like, even if you've become a fan of Merab, and let's be honest, Merab, I think, had to work a little bit to win over the fan base. Like, I think people like his personality for sure, but he had a reputation for just going to decision all the time, this grinding style, quote unquote, weaponizing cardio, whatever phrase you want to use for his style, which is not super fan friendly. Like, let's just be real about it. Even his championship run, there's been fights where, like, you can be impressed with his skill, you can be impressed with his dominance, but like the first Sean O'Malley fight wasn't like an amazing fight. It's not like some fight like, oh wow, it was a fight of the year candidate. It's like, no, Merab did what Merab does, and again, some people will like it, a lot of people will not like it. He's not the only champion to be like this. My GOAT at GSP, I think people forget in his era how many of his title fights were criticized for, like, he didn't have that relentless Merab pace, but he certainly had fights where he just was so controlling and so neutralizing. And there was and as much as GSP was a huge draw in his day, like, he had his fair share of critics who didn't like his fighting style. So Merab is like that to like another degree. He's like the evolution of that, where I think we all admire the dominance. 3, potentially 4 title defenses in 1 year, successful title defenses, 14 straight victories. But it's a hard sell to you. Again, you're Joe Blow, a sports fan, the guy who I talk about, who said like is only going to buy 7 pay-per-view, half the pay-per-views or less, is only going to buy 4 pay-per-views a year. Like, Merab, respectfully, is just not making that list. It's just not making that list. And again, that's just all the man does is win. It is not his job to be a balls to the wall entertainer. It's his job to win fights. And if people like that, great. If they don't, it doesn't really matter, because he's keeping himself at the top. He's getting big paychecks. So yeah, part of it is not just like the division. It is the guy who happens to be the champion of the division right now. I think we can agree if Sean O'Malley were somehow the champion, his fighting style, his personality, and all the way he connects with sort of a different demographic, there'd be a broader appeal. Right? This is just like just talking numbers here, right? And it's for Pantoja. I mean, Flyweight's Flyweight. For some reason, it's just never going to connect with people. But Pantoja's weird because he's such an exciting fighter. I don't know the last time he had like a super boring fight. I think the Royval rematch was definitely a little disappointing. Otherwise, like, Pantoja's just in bangers, man, or he's dominating people with his grappling, which is also fun, and actually finishing. So, but he's a flyweight. So I guess that means he just can't be a draw, which is just absurd. So we had this weird mixture of guys in the card. That's why we keep saying it's a hardcore one, because it's if you love exciting fighters, then you love Pantoja, but you're not going to sell a casual fan because of flyweight. And if you love, dominant champions, you like Merab, but you're not going to sell casual fans because he doesn't dominate in the way that people like. Yeah,
I mean, like the San Antonio Spurs won a lot of championships, but people watched the Bulls win all the championships because they were exciting and there was always stories. Is this Jordan's last year? He's going to retire? Like, there's so much casual interest in it. Or you could watch Greg Popovich coach Tim Duncan and the gang, and you're just like, oh, they're just going to do everything by the book beautifully and win. But they're not just that. You're not going to see Spurs highlights on top 10 of Sports Center. It just pivot, step, hook shot off the backboard and in, Colin Banks, all that stuff. Like, and that's what this card is, just greatness personified, plus a potential passing of the torch in a lot of respects. And I guess one of the questions I had heading into this event, especially when it comes to Merab and Jan, and it's kind of like twofold now heading into this, because we've sort of broken down everything there is to break down from a stylistic perspective on this fight. How can Jan win? Can anyone stop Merab? Is this too much? Is 4 fights in a year and cutting this weight, having to hit 135 or less on the dot, is that going to catch up to Merab? Like, we've talked about all of this stuff. If Merab wins this fight, AK, if he goes out there and just beats Jan again, the only year I can really think of that would hold a candle to this in the UFC, I know Shogun and what he did in Pride, I think 04 or 05, maybe the greatest year in the history of the sport. This is John Jones's 2011, AK. Ryan Bader in February of 2011. 6 weeks later, he stops Shogun, wins the UFC light heavyweight title. That was March of 2019. March 19th, 2011. Then he takes a little breather, comes back in September, finishes Quentin Rampage Jackson. Then he's back in December, and he finishes Lyoto Machida with a true standing guillotine choke, AK. That, in a lot of people's eyes, is the greatest year in the history of the UFC. If Merab Dvalishvili beats Petr Yan tomorrow in the main event, 4 title defenses, never been done before, is this the greatest year in UFC history from a fighter?
I mean, I can't get there, man. I can't get there. You just running back like John Jones's incredible year he had I got a little bit of the goosies, like just remembering how hyped those things were. And again, I know we don't want to say it's all about hype. I know we're trying to be objective here and say like, well, is the quality of the wins equal? And like, yeah, the competition that Merab beat is great. Like, if you want to put Umar, O'Malley, Sandhagen, Jan over that Jones run, there's a case to be made. Like there is a case to be made. It's brought down to a little bit by these fights being rematches. The second O'Malley fight, like great by Merab, did even better that time and actually finished it. It just wasn't the fight anybody was asking for, right? The Umar win, fantastic, maybe the best win of all the fights that you just mentioned, Mike. I think the Umar win is going to age so well, especially if they fight again, and no matter who wins, if he beats Umar twice or Umar beats him, I think that first win is going to age really, really, really well. Sandhagen fight was fantastic. I just don't think Sandhagen, unfortunately, is held in the same esteem as some of the names that John beat. And then Jan's a rematch, right? Jan's a guy he's already beat. So it's missing a little bit of that. It just doesn't feel special, which sounds weird because we're potentially about to see a guy defend a UFC title 4 times in 1 year successfully, which has never been done before. But I'll still go with Jones above that. I think the Jones. So not the best year ever. But yeah, but the fact that he'll have an argument, man, I mean, good for Merab, because again, there was that time. I still remember this time where we weren't even sure when he was going to get a title shot. Aljamain was at the top. We all knew Merab could be good. Did we know he could be this good? I don't know, Mike. It's pretty damn all right.
It's pretty wild, man. Like, this is a some year, and normally you hear fighters say like, "Oh, I'm gonna fight all the time. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna fight." Do you remember when we were like in January when he fought Umar? He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna fight 3 more times this year." We're like, "No, you're not. You're insane." People say this all the time. You're not actually gonna do it. And now he's out here doing it, AK. This is just unbelievable stuff at 135 pounds. But he is facing a Petr Yan who this week just seems like, if you watch his media day, Petr Yan, like, I've interviewed him a few times. He's pretty stone cold. Once in a while, you get a little smile out of him. But like, he was this jolly good fella at media day. He was smiling. I'm ear to ear, baby. This is coming out of Petr Yan's mouth. And then, Merab tried to ramp up the intensity at the press conference like he typically does, starts yelling and screaming at Jan for making excuses because he had a hand injury, and he did have a hand injury heading into that fight. Just like Merab had an injury heading into the Umar fight, but he won. So, I mean, you kind of look at it from different directions, and I guess you can kind of understand where Merab's coming from. But Jan has just been cool as a cucumber, having a good time with all of this. How does Jan win? I guess that's like the question I have, because he's so talented. And if we look back to where, 2017, 2018, when he was really coming up, when he was beating Uriah and beating Jimmy Rivera and beating all these guys, and we're looking at him like, this dude is going to be the champion at some point. And then he wins the belt, and then the whole Aljamain Sterling thing happens. And, it's just been kind of he scratched and clawed his way back to this Merab fight after getting just ridiculously run over. How can Jan win? Like, and this is not a disrespectful question. I'm just curious, what is his path to victory here? Is it just he's just got to catch Merab's like sleeping or trying to play around and land a big shot? Like how does he do this?
My best friend, I'm glad you asked, because I actually like both challengers champions on Saturday. Not so much that I would not so much that I would pull the trigger on either of them, I'll be honest with you. And I don't like Jan's chances as much as I like Van. I think most people would be in agreement with that. You know, Van's kind of a little more of a wild card. We don't know how good this guy's going to be. Maybe he peaks on Saturday and has like the best performance of his young life, and then we suddenly have this new star at 125. I think that's like believable. I think people can see a path to that. Jan, it's just tougher. We just saw them. We've seen them fight. We know what Jan can do. We know what Merab can do. It feels like Merab has gotten better at what he does. It feels like Jan has also gotten better at what he does. But what Merab does very often neutralizes what guys like Jan do. So that is the tricky part to making it believable. But I will say, like, I think the one thing that's happened during a lot of Merab's fights is, he's winning rounds, but I think there's I don't know if people realize how close he is, I think, to losing some of these rounds. There are rounds where he's just totally dominant, just smothers the other guy for 4 minutes. Clear 10-9, no issue there. But there are rounds where he gets hit, right? We laugh at Sean O'Malley kind of talking about like, oh, I won that first fight, blah, blah. Like, clearly he didn't. But he did realistically point to like moments where like, oh, I kind of had him hurt here, and if I'd been able to land more shots here. It's a lot of ifs. But that's why we do these fights, right? That's why these rematches happen, because you could see a world where Jan is able to stand his feet just long enough and win the striking exchanges. Again, not as easy to do now. I think Merab's striking has improved so much since the first Jan fight. I'm not saying he's as good as Jan, but clearly he's way in striking. The Merab of today it would kill the Merab that fought Jan the first time in a stand-up battle. He just looks so much better. So that's there's a little more competency there. But I just like. And maybe I'm just selling myself on this rematch because I want it to mean, I want this 2025 we're talking about from Merab to mean more than maybe it does. But I like the idea that, hey, if Jan, maybe he gets taken down, but is able to get back up and has this flurry in round 2. Oh, he had this flurry here in round 4. Not even a knockdown, but had this like one defining moment or one round that was super close, but could have gone either way. 2 of the judges see it Jan's way. Like, this is going to go to the cards, right? I don't think we're going to play the Jan has a puncher's chance that he needs to knock Merab out. I don't think that's going to happen, and I don't think that's his only path to victory. I think there's going to be some close rounds in there, and if one of them goes to Jan, and again, Andy managed to have some good moments in other rounds, he could 48-47 this. I'm also one of those people. I'm definitely concerned about the 4 title fights in 1 year, 3 title fights in 6 months. Like, and Merab looked great on the scale. Didn't look that depleted at all. But it has to take something out of you. So if you're talking yourself into Jan, like I said, those are the reasons. You think he can, again, he just has to win 3 out of 5 rounds, which is more than capable with his abilities. And maybe the Merab that steps in there is, 80% of the Merab we usually get. And maybe that's enough. I don't know. But like I said, I'm certainly leaning towards champion, Mike. But I don't think Jan is like just a complete waste of a challenger at all.
No, I definitely think it's going to be obviously more competitive fight than the first time around. I don't think Merab is just going to like 50-42 him, which is how I'm pretty sure how I scored that first fight, because Jan literally did nothing for 25 minutes, but just got run over by the whatever that was from Merab on that night at UFC Las Vegas. Not even at the Apex. They actually went outside of the Apex for like a 2,000 seater because Power Slap had to take place at the Apex. And we missed those days where they got out of the Apex and did some fun stuff with at least some crowd. But my money bet wise is on Jan, AK. It's not like your typical, I'm picking him to win, but I am alternate point spreading the living crap out of him. Plus 13.5 points. Minus 200 is my bet. I think Jan can win a round. I just need him to win 1 round in this fight, like a clear 1 round, and I will cash that.
Plus 13.5. So, okay, I'm hurting my head here. Okay, so let's do some math. So if Merab won every round, let's say 50-45 across all the cards, that counts to what? That's a plus, what's that, plus 15? That's plus 15.
Yeah, so if he gets 2 50-45s and a 49-46, I lose. I think.
So, okay, if you got 3...
Oh, no. Yeah, 13.5. So he just can't get 50-45 across the board.
So 3 49-46s, you would still cash?
I would cash that, yep.
Interesting. Wow. Interesting. Don't bet on MMA, people. Don't bet on MMA, but I'm just saying.
But I do think it's going to be closer, but I'm not confident. I don't know, I don't know if Jan wins 2 rounds, but I think he can win 1.
Sounds like it, right?
I think he can win 1. That first round is going to be so curious to me.
Yeah.
Because both guys typically don't win the first round. Like, Merab got kicked in the face a few times by Corey Sandhagen. Like, Corey had a great first round against him. And I thought that's how the fight might have gone from start to finish. And then Merab was like, watch this. I'm going to start striking with you, and almost finished him on the feet in round 2. So I was like, whoa. But Merab usually is like kind of a slow starter. And then he's, as Jed likes to say, he's a snowball rolling downhill, and then he becomes an avalanche. And Jan usually takes the first round to just kind of gather information and let his brain kind of dictate the adjustments that need to be made. But you can't do that against Merab. Like, you cannot lose the first round to him. So do you think we'll see a world where Jan just becomes like the anti-Jan and just goes bananas to start this fight?
I hope so, man, because I feel like he said that before, or I feel like that's at least been brought up to him in a post-fight press conference. Like, do you feel like you need to be, start faster? And I don't think he's ever committed to just saying like, oh yeah, next time I go out there, I'm just gonna go berserker and make sure I at least win that first round, maybe have a chance at an early finish. I don't think he's done that, but I hope his team has mentioned it. I mean, look, these two squads know each other really well, right? I mean, like I said, he's fought Jan already. Merab and Jan have fought already, and Jan has fought Aljo twice, right? So they have so much data on Petr Jan that I think for him to just stick to a routine would be crazy, right? You don't want to go reinventing the wheel on yourself, especially when this could be the last your last chance that you challenge for the title, right? If you don't win, but you have to know that that you guys have been playing this long game chess match, and everyone has seen each other's moves. But now, listen, we've cleared the board, and maybe you do something out of the box to fool him. So I would love to see Jan come out to a faster start. If he wins that first round, Mike, I think your bet is pretty safe. And again, I think anyone who thinks Jan has a chance, I think they'll be feeling much better. I think they'll be feeling really comfortable. Like I said, he is. I do not expect him to get 50-45. And if he takes like a close first round because just of inactivity or on Rob's side or whatever, just maybe on both guys' side, it's really not crazy to see him taking at least one more round. And then after that, got it. Yeah, you leave it in the hands of the judges. Who knows? So it's gonna be an interesting fight. I almost wish they were closing out with the co-main, if I'm being honest with you, which I think is gonna be a little more exciting. But it'll this will be a fine technical battle to close out the night.
Yeah. Currently, according to our friends at FanDuel, AK Merab, just a humongous favorite. -480 the comeback on Petr Jan, +350. Seems like we're both on the same page here, where Jan is a little more competitive, but it just is not enough to stop this incredible run.
Yeah, it's like we said at the beginning of the show, Mike. It's just been hard to talk about this card in any other way than just going like, Merab is going to make history and he's going to set this record, and then we'll look. We're almost already looking ahead to 2026, right? We're almost looking ahead to could this set up the Merab Pantoja super fight? Can Umar get his rematch in 2026? Like it's really disrespectful to Jan, but you just can't help it just based on the run that Merab has been on. And also that we saw them fight. It's so hard to shake off that first fight. Like I said, I know it was like over 2 years ago, which is quite some time. I'm not saying the guys are the same, but it is really, really difficult to picture this going like completely different from their first fight. Like I said, I think Jan can do more and possibly win, but I think it's still going to look similar at many parts. And I think for fans, they make a bit of a deja vu that they're not like super excited about.
Have you gone back and like ever watched that fight a second time?
Not recently.
It's still as bad as I remember it, but the weird thing is, despite me still scoring at 50-42, I thought like Jan, at least like from a defensive wrestling standpoint, actually did a little bit better than I thought he did. It wasn't much because Merab shot 50 friggin' takedown attempts in that fight. I think he shot 49 and landed like 21 of them, but like, Jan did okay. How could you? That dude shot 50 freaking takedowns in a fight. That's insane. I just don't see a world where he could do that again. I don't. So I like my bet. Could I lose it? Yeah, there's a pretty good chance. But I think Jan's more competitive, and this could be his last chance to fight for a belt. So it's a big legacy fight for him. I am certainly intrigued by it, even though I think Merab will win. And then we'll have like some different conversations to talk about. He will certainly be the fighter of the year if he wins this fight. If he doesn't, that changes things up. But we'll see if Merab can go 4 for 4 in title defenses, because we have never seen this before in the UFC. Co-main event, flyweight title, AK. Joshua Van. This man has just come out of nowhere, unranked to start the year. then goes on this nice run. I think everyone sort of pinpointed this guy as a couple of years, this dude's going to fight for a world title. He's going to fight for a belt. And then he gets the back-to-back wins in like a month's time, including the Brandon Royval win, which was probably the fight of the year. I think it's going to get a lot of votes for fight of the year. And from unranked to title shot, he got in with Pantoja at UFC 317, and they did the little face-off. And now Joshua Van has a chance to become the first UFC champion ever born in the 2000s, AK. And he's taken on Alexandre Pantoja, who has just been absolutely spectacular as of late. So your thoughts on this co-main event, Josh Van getting his first title shot at such a young age, and are you buying into the maybe this is too much too soon for Josh Van sort of storyline that has been attached to this fight?
I don't know. I get it. I mean, it's certainly justifiable to frame it that way because Mike, do you know what Joshua Van was doing? Like when he made his pro debut, we're talking October 2021. At that point in Alexandre Pantoja's career, he was 24-5. He had just submitted Brandon Royval in their first fight. This was sort of he was making his way up in earnest back to the rankings, right? And it was kind of hard for him to get the Moreno fight. Well, he was stuck because Moreno and Figgy were fighting each other so many times. So Pantoja just couldn't slide into the equation. But he was moving up there. Like, so he was in clearly one of the 3 best flyweights in the world when Van made his pro debut. And then somehow their paths have and then Van went crazy. He's fought 17 times in 4 years. And he's gone crazy and he's earned the shot. He's earned this opportunity. But it's just weird to think of it that way. And that is obviously where a lot of the too much too soon thought comes from. We always talk about grown man strength. And you feel like Van it's not even near his physical prime yet. Pantoja is a monster. He is pound for pound probably one of the strongest fighters in all of MMA. Definitely top 2, top 3 strongest flyweights. Maybe I keep thinking number 1. I just don't want to forget anyone. But he's certainly in the conversation. He's just so strong. His grappling is so strong. So I don't want to say too much too soon because I like Van a lot, and like I said, I actually kind of like his chances just because his style I think is really conducive to winning decisions, especially in the kinds of fights that like Pantoja often finds himself in. He gets into some wars sometimes. The big question is, can Van avoid being dominated by Pantoja's grappling? And I think he really does have a chance there. But it's one of those things we'll find out early, right? We certainly found out early with Kai Sakura. Kai Sakura, I think we thought, oh, this guy's explosive. If he can avoid getting taken, nope. He's got taken down pretty fast. And yeah, he's got nothing for him on the ground. Kai Kara-France had nothing for Pantoja on the ground. So like I said, I think Van is better than both of them with the or at least, scrambling to, being able to get up. But I could be totally wrong. This could honestly be a repeat of the last 2 fights and could end within 3 rounds, another submission. So I don't think it's too much too soon, but that could certainly once again be the narrative by the end of the night.
I love Van's sort of reaction to all that. Like, well, what am I supposed to do? Just like not take title fights because I'm too young. So I shouldn't have fought Brandon Royval because I'm too young. And then I went out there and beat him. I think I don't know what to think about this fight. Cause like everything inside me tells me that Pantoja is just going to clobber him, that this fight's not even going to be competitive. But Van is just, he surprises me every time he fights. Like, I know he's good, but he's so wise beyond his years. You know what I mean? Like, he is so mature as a fighter, and he doesn't let any, like, the BS around him, like, really get to him. He just kind of, like, takes it and has fun with it. But, man, if Pants gets him down early, he is in such trouble. Like, this fight will be over within 2 rounds if Pants is starting to get takedowns consistently. And I'm sure Josh and his team have prepared for that. Daniel Pineda did a great job, like, getting him to this moment. But boy, oh boy, I actually feel like this is going to be less competitive than the main event, AK. I don't know. And it's nothing against Josh. And I don't like to really, like, go into the, this is too much too soon, but it kind of might be, honestly. But I would pick Pantoja to pretty much dominate everybody in this division. So this is not like a knock on Josh. And I actually feel Josh is more competitive than Kaya Sakura or Kai Kara-France are going to be. But this is not a indictment of Josh Van's skills. This is just, how great I think Pantoja is right now. Like, you can make a truly strong case that he is the best pound for pound fighter in the world, and I will listen to you. He won't win votes because he's the flyweight in a sport where the Islam Makhachevs and the Ilia Toporias, those guys are stars, but I kind of think Pants is just going to submit him inside of 8 minutes. And Van's going to try his ass off, and he's going to do his best. I just think Pantoja is that good, man.
And you could be totally right. Like I said, I think the back-to-back Kai wins are still very fresh in people's minds, and it's hard to again not imagine a guy who is less experienced than those two guys. Probably just talking about physical maturity, certainly behind Kai Kara-France and behind Kai Sakura. So how's he going to deal with it? I don't know, man. Youthful exuberance. Like I said, maybe they've got the secret sauce to keeping Pantoja off of them. I'm just a believer. I don't know. I'm just a believer that he has a chance. Like I said, I don't know if I'm flat out picking him, but I am a believer. Mike, you mentioned Pantoja might be the best pound for pound fighter in the world. I can't really credibly do it, but I so want to argue that if he put on a dominant performance over Pantoja, whether finishing him or winning like a 50-45, 49-46, something like that, I feel like he's much closer to fighter of the year than people are maybe giving him credit for. I think it's close. I think it's hard because you can't compare Cody Durden and Bruno Silva to Umar and Sean O'Malley and Corey Sandhagen. Like, just the quality of Merab's wins is so high. So that's where it gets, that's where you lose it. But man, to beat again the number 2 and number 1 guys in your division, and arguably like the pound for pound best fighter in the world, would be incredibly impressive. So he's probably at best a strong runner-up to fighter of the year. But I will really have to think about it. If he somehow just Cody Garbrandt, Dominic Cruz, if he pulls that kind of thing off against Pantoja, I would really have to think about it.
He's number 3 if he wins. If he wins and Merab wins, he's number 3.
You're putting him behind Islam.
Yep.
Gosh. I don't know. It's hard for me with Islam because going up and dominating JDM, amazing. Obviously, the guy's unbelievable. But that plus the Moicano win was such a write-off, and it's not his fault. That's the story of Makhachev's career, right? We're looking at his resume. I was like, oh, he didn't do this. Yeah, but he was booked to fight this guy. It's not his friggin' fault. He's great opponents just keep falling out. It's totally not Islam's fault. But at the same time, that is the luck of the game, right? These awards sometimes go. You're not in control of these things, and I would definitely have him above Islam, but I do think Merab's it's a lot harder case to make. But we'll see. He has to beat Pantoja in the first place, and I just don't know if that's going to happen.
And as Jed pointed out, Shevchenko probably deserves to be on that list too. And of course, and the year ain't over yet. My boy, my fantasy MMA MVP, Waldo Cortez Acosta, could get one more in.
You never know.
Could get one more next week.
He is. I heard he's living at the UFC Apex. I heard he's actually. They've told him to leave, and he's like, nope. He's like, I've got a little cot. He's like, I'm set up. He's like, I think he's going to be under the cage if someone. Is there even a heavyweight fight in that card? No.
On 13th.
Yeah.
No. I don't know.
I'll look right now. Sean. Oh my God. There's 3. Sorry. My apologies to Guilherme Pat and Alan Fry and Sean Schroff and all these guys for competing on.
God, if any one of those guys fall out, he's definitely fighting.
You could see Waldo fight Marcus Buchecha if the cards fall.
God.
If the cards fall a certain way, Mike, we could get Waldo Buchecha.
If I'm telling you right now, and for those saying there's no chance, there is a chance. They are truly trying to find a spot for him on that card. But I think at this point, it's one of these heavyweights has to fall out, and then he could slide in.
There's 3 chances. That's all I'm saying. There's 3 fights. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just saying.
He could, dude. He fights either of those guys. He's going to be in and either in 30 seconds. And that's just another win. So we love to see it. We love when that happens. 2 interesting title fights. How surprising would it be? Because I know like Josh Van winning isn't like super surprising to you, but like, what do you think the overall reaction will be if Josh wins? Do you think people are like, I cannot believe this happened? Or how do you think, or do you think more people kind of be like on your side where Josh has a better chance than most are giving him?
I think it'll be very similar to the TJ Barao vibes. That's kind of what I'm getting from this, is like, because TJ was well recognized as like someone who could be a champion someday. I don't think they thought he would be a champion as early as he did, but yeah, right out the gate had so much endorsement from Team Alpha Male. God, so long ago. Team Alpha Male at the time, like he was their guy. He was their guy. I was like, yeah, this guy could become the champion, and then he started making insane leaps and bounds with the striking, and And the Barao fight was thought of as being maybe too much too soon, right? They were like, oh, he's probably not ready for this. Barao has won 30-something straight fights. And Dillashaw put on a virtuoso performance that we still talk about to this day. It was an incredible performance. So maybe that to me is what it would feel like. It'd be like, oh, wow, it's not that Pantoja is bad, but it's like maybe we just saw the emergence of a guy who is going to be a champion and a top 5 flyweight for the next decade, right? So that might be the case with Van. So it'll be surprised for sure, but I think it'll also be very easily rationalized within like 48 hours. I think people will kind of figure it out and be like, wow. But also, Pantoja will get an immediate rematch.
As he should.
Yeah.
Which would, push Kyoji back a little bit, but I need to see Pants versus Kyoji at this point. Like, we just have to see it.
I know.
That's big business. That's what we want to see right there. Rest of the main card, pretty darn good. We get Brandon Moreno against Tatsuro Taira. Really like that matchmaking. We have the final fight, at least we think, and let me just be honest, we hope is the final fight of Henry Cejudo's career. I think he's done enough. I don't think he needs to do much more. Taking on the young Peyton Talbot, who's on the come up. We have Jan Blachowicz back, AK, taking on Bogdan Guskov. And let's do a little fun activity here. Let's run down the rest of the prelims, because honestly, I forgot some of these fights are even happening until this week because of the focus on the main card. Grant Dawson, Manuel Torres is the featured prelim. I think people are talking about that. We'll talk a little bit about the Chris Duncan, Terrence McKinney fight in a moment, because people who like to play the ponies have obviously been paying attention to what's been going on there. Macy Barber's back fighting Karine Silva. We have Nazim Sadikov versus Fares Ziem, which is going to be unbelievable. I cannot wait for that fight. Marvin Vettori versus Bruno Ferreira, who missed weight, AK, by what, 3 pounds or more?
3 pounds, 189.
Golly. Biggest fight of his career, and he misses weight by 3 pounds. And he came in early too, didn't he?
Yeah, he came in essentially saying like, "Yeah, I'm not going to make it. I'm just letting you all know." Yeah,
unbelievable.
I need to go rehydrate right now. Like, just
Jalen Turner back from his lengthy retirement. Minus 300 against Edson Barboza. Ebo versus Iwo, the people's main event. We have Mansour Abdul Malik versus the poker playing Antonio Tricoli, and Myron Santos versus Mohamed Naimov. I love this card, AK. The first 3 fights, I think people are expecting. I think Naimov Santos is just going to be a really good, fun scrap. Mansour Tricoli is going to end in like 35 seconds, and Iwo, I think the UFC and everybody else is hoping that ends in like 2.5 minutes or less. So, but the rest of the fights, like literally like the next 11, 12 fights are all like super interesting, right? This card is just so solid.
There's not a bad fight in this card. I'm saying there's not a bad fight. There's not a fight on this card that I can't find some level of intrigue in. The only ones I would be like maybe might not turn out great is I have no idea what's going to happen with Marvin and Bruno. So now with Bruno missing weight, he looked so bad on the scale. Oh my gosh! I think Jose was saying, because Jose could see a little off to the side. He's there in Vegas. That like his team was essentially helping him up to the scale as far as they could take him before like letting him step. Yeah, he did not, and you could just see when he was down the scale, it looked miserable. I think we have him on our front page, guys. If you go to like our MMAfighting.com. Just look at the feature image I chose for the weigh-in results. The look in his face. This is not a man who looks like he's ready to win a cage fight on Saturday. Very bad form from Bruno. Hopefully he's okay. Would not shock me in the slightest if let's say you guys are listening to this show tomorrow on Saturday, that by the time you listen to it, the fight has already been canceled or something, because it did not look good. I'm a little worried about Iwo as well. I do think this should be a showcase fight for Iwo coming off the Contender Series. I should really use their last names. It's confusing. But it is light heavyweight, which we all know light heavyweight can be very middleweighty. And there's a chance one of those fights, just neither guy is kind of able to find the range or pull the trigger, and they're just kind of dancing for 3 rounds. But that's it. This is nitpicking. This is like the most pessimistic view of some of these fights. I find everything here so intriguing. Macy Barber might actually fight. Fingers crossed, we will see. Some great lightweight action. This is good stuff. Myron Santos also missed weight, by the way, so a little bit of a bummer there. But that's an intriguing fight.
Isn't Myron? Was he moving? Oh no, he didn't move up. He moved up to lightweight just to fight
with Sadiq. Yeah,
Sadiq. Yeah, but He might have to go back up, huh?
It feels like that's something he enjoyed doing and may have to do in the future. He's not a huge guy too. That's what's so frustrating for me. Is I think he is a bit stocky. I do think there's like a but height wise, he's not a really tall guy. As long as he's some towering featherweight. And, I'm a little disappointed. I feel like I'm sorry, I'm not in Myron's camp or anything. I just feel like he can make 145, and this is some other issue.
Do you care to take a guess who the biggest favorite on the card is?
I know who the biggest favorite on the card is. He's one of the biggest favorites of the year, I think. one Mr. Mansour Abdul Malik.
Minus 1,300.
What?
Minus 1,300.
Oh my! I saw like minus 1,000 earlier in the week. I don't know if it's moved or I'm looking at a different book. My God, that is wild.
Yep, big favorite. So
he's
that
like,
is UFC.
That's crazy. Like, that's so crazy because I know Chikoli. Chikoli's 0-2. He hasn't even won the UFC, right? But like, it's not like Mansour is. I know we like him. I know we all see him as being this just future destroyer. But I kind of always say this: like, no one with this few fights should be like a minus 1,300 favorite. Like, I think that's just absurd. Unless, of course, there's someone like like a Bo Nickel or someone like coming from another combat sports discipline, like a kickbox or something like that. But I mean, it's minus 1,300 for a guy who's in his third UFC fight. I don't know. Like I said, if I was a betting man, I'd put $5 on Chikoli. What's Chikoli underdog then? Like
plus 730.
I mean, you still $5 on that, $2 on that, right? Because so many things can happen. But yeah, I'm picking Mansour. But again, if I were betting, the $2 on Chikoli.
Yeah, Mansour. I mean, he's one of those like really solid projects that Extreme Couture has right now, and Eric Nixon gets to kind of mess around with. Like, just this like incredibly solid, like natural prospect who just like has everything that you would want from someone who walks into the gym and starts trading. So, and now it's just trying to like mold it all together into a position where you make sure he doesn't go up too fast. I think this is actually really good matchmaking for him. We're getting like a little more of a veteran-ish kind of a name, but not too crazy. So we're just like slowly moving up the ranks of like guys he should be fighting. So whatever Atiba Gauthier has been doing, like this is the exact path Mansour Abdul Malik should be on as well. So, all right, let's go to the peeps. Let's see what you guys all have to say. We touched on a lot of this stuff already that I've seen from Joseph. We'll start here. Will Grant Dawson get a top 10 guy if he wins? He is 11-1-1 having to fight unranked Manuel Torres.
No idea. Lightweight is tricky, man. Lightweight is such a difficult division to move up in because they have so many guys coming into the division that are good. And then you can kind of be slotted into that role of the guy testing them. Like that's what's happening with Dawson here. He is higher ranked than Torres. I think he has to be higher ranked than Torres, right? Torres is unranked supposedly?
Torres is not ranked. Yeah, he's not ranked.
He beat what? It was Dober? Was it the Dober win?
Dober win, yeah.
Damn, that was nasty. So I don't know if they view Dawson in that way. His record looks fantastic, of course. There's no denying. But that's not all lightweight either, right? I'm not crazy, right? So aren't some of those featherweight fights where he like missed weight and stuff? He's not like 11-1-1 at 155 pounds. I'm pretty.
Oh no.
He has. I mean, he has a good 7-1-1. 7-1-1. Okay, so I got my own notes here, which is still very good. Again, that division going 7-1-1 is freaking crazy, and he has been fighting good guys. It's not like he's been fighting. There's a lot of top 25 guys in there that he's gone up against. So, yeah, he looks really good. I just don't know how they view him, and it sucks. But I think when he says stuff, and because I thought this was hilarious when he says stuff like, "Oh, I'm just gonna hump this guy and make it a boring fight." Cool, funny thing to say. Matchmakers, Dana White. It's funny. Sorry, they might have a laugh with you, but like they're not gonna like hearing that. So, I will he get it? If I had to bet, we get a top 10 person next. Mike shaking your head. I say definitely no. Just to give you guys some of the names. Let's, for example, like this is in the top 10, he's not getting. I don't think he's getting Dan Hooker. I don't think he's getting. Gamrot, what is that? Some of these people might be already booked. Apologies, guys. I'm just
Gamrot he trains with, so I doubt.
Okay, Gamrot he trains with. Fiziev, I don't think he's gonna get.
No.
BSD, I don't think he's gonna get. No, maybe that's my number 10. So that's my number 10 in my rankings. So that's it. So will he get a top 10 guy? It's really tough. There's really only one or two possibilities, and I just have a feeling he's not part of that equation right now.
Like I think Benny would be pretty good. Like someone like Dariush, that'd be like an interesting one. But like. I know he keeps calling for Chandler, but Chandler ain't fighting him. Moicano's not going to do it. Fiziev's not going to do it. BSD's not going to do it. I mean, he's probably like maybe fights like Mauricio Huffy next or somebody like of that ilk the Ignacio Bahamundezes of the world. Like, but these are ranked guys. But yeah, it's too bad because like I think a lot of it has to do with his fighting style, which is not really aesthetically pleasing. But like I'm trying to like I'm looking at his recent run here. So let's see. Since he got into the UFC, Julian Erosa, Mike Trezano, Derek Minner. He missed weight by a bunch for that Minner fight. Nad Niramani, Leo Santos, which was the nasty like end of the fight slam and hammer fist thing with like 1 second left in the entire fight. The Dorada Ricky Glenn, taps Jared Gordon, taps Mark Madsen, beats Demirs Magulov. Good win. Then he gets colded by King Green in 30 seconds. Beats Joe Selecki, Rafa Garcia, and Diego Vejera. If he beats Manuel Torres convincingly, is this his best win?
Is this his best win?
Do you think it's his best win?
I mean, this Magulov win is pretty good.
That ages pretty decently. But I don't think he fought. Did he? That was his last fight in the UFC. Was the loss to Grant Dawson?
Yeah, I think finishing Jared Gordon is very impressive. But yeah, it'd be up there. It'd be Ismagulov. It'd be Jared Gordon.
CDF's a good win too.
CDF's a very good win.
But it's not like CDF 5 years ago.
No. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Depending how if he finishes, I'll say if he finishes him, Yeah.
I mean, I would like to see him be a little more active too. I think the thing that really helped Grant is he just fights more.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like he's fighting. I'm trying to see. Has he? At no point has he fought 3 times in a year since he's been in the UFC, I don't think.
And January to December is such a huge gap. It's almost like people didn't see you all year, right? I hate to say it.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned the CDF fight. I barely remember that happened in January. Like that was
two fights in 2019, 2 fights in 2020, 2 fights in 2021, 2 fights in 2022, 2 in 2023, 2 in 2024, and this is the second of 2025. He needs a Merab year. Like that's what he needs. Honestly, like this is what gets you over. This is what gets you these types of fights. This is what gets you rising up the ranks. This is what puts you on the UFC's matchmakers maps is like, yeah, we can rely on this guy because he fights like all the time. That's what he needs. He goes out there and like wins this fight and then steps in on short notice at like UFC 324 or something. Boom, you got something. Then maybe you can start getting these fights. But and yeah, I understand the ranking hogging thing, but despite the record, like people don't view him as like a meaning and he is a meaningful win to like us. But going out there and like Paddy Pimblett beating Bobby Green is like a great win. That's how people view like, oh, that's a really good win for him. Beating Grant Dawson is like he's just not there. You know what I mean? He's just not there. He's just not fighting often enough for people to really like gravitate towards him, which is a shame because he is like the low key, like funniest dude on the roster. Like his media day was incredible. He was so fun. You could pull like 10 reels from his media day and they were all great. But he's just, again, in today's UFC, you become a star by fighting a lot and just always being out there.
Yep. So
he needs something like that to really get him going. So we shall see if he can do that. And it's a good fight. I'm really looking forward to that one because Manuel dude is nasty. What else we got? Last UFC pay-per-view ever. What event/fight comes to mind when you hear those words pay-per-view?
Gosh, so many. And we kind of discussed it earlier. Like honestly, the guy's become a mess, but the Conor McGregor era. Well, I think of Conor McGregor and I think of Brock Lesnar. I think of Ronda Rousey. I think those people that these kind of people that just took things to a level I never thought I'd see, like 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 million pay-per-view buys for the UFC. I was like, whoa! And then the amount of like buzz that people are talking about, like those three are right really the definition of modern prize fighting. Right? You can love them, you can hate them, but they understood the game. They understood the game. Some of them have lost the plot since, certainly, but in their primes, boy, did they understand the game. And they were probably underpaid too. Let's be honest. Guys like Connor and Brock and them were not making as much money as they should have been because you saw the massive numbers that the UFC was starting to put up. So yeah, I think of those guys. I think of the legit crossover stars. There's other consistent draws. We mentioned GSP before. Chael Sonnen and Anderson. After the Chael Sonnen fight, Anderson Silva, like it took kind of that view kind of took them to the next level. And Anderson Silva was consistently drawing in the 700, 800,000 range. John Jones never quite got there. There was like a few grudge matches that did like, I think 800,000 plus, something like that. So when I think of really, really, really the pay-per-view stars, I'm talking Ronda, I'm talking Brock, I'm talking Conor McGregor. It was a wild time. I still remember just that whole stretch of stardom that they managed to have. And you can really draw just such a direct line between that era and where we are now. Like you can kind of see how it got so big.
I mean, I sound like an old curmudgeon, but it's 2016. When I think of pay-per-view, I think of 2016, the greatest year ever in MMA, the greatest year ever for the UFC. Like they did a bunch of million pay-per-view buys events that year. And the whole trajectory of the sport changed like with pay-per-views that year, with Nate tapping Connor on somewhat stepping in for RDA and, you know, the Miesha Tate title win, and then the UFC 200 thing went down, and then the sale of the company, and then we had UFC 202, and Connor got his comeback against Nate, and then the performance against Eddie Alvarez at UFC 205, and then 206 was like this under the radar, like, and 198, like we had two underappreciated pay-per-views that were like two of the very best ever, but like get forgotten in the shuffle. UFC 199, there's obviously a lot that happened at UFC 199 beyond just fighting. UFC 206 was like a spectacular pay-per-view that was just sort of like shoved in the middle of UFC 205 and UFC 207, which was headlined by the return of Ronda Rousey. And she just kind of got the shit beat out of her by Amanda Nunes. So like people forget like how awesome 206 was. That's when we got the Cub Swanson Duho Choi fight. Matt Brown, Donald Cerrone was awesome before Cerrone got that nasty KO. The Max Holloway era sort of continued going. I mean, it was just such a great year.
I worked the UFC event. Year. I worked the UFC event for the UFC 206, my first ever event that I worked for a company, worked as media.
Oh, look at you.
Look at this. That should have remembered that instead of you.
Yeah.
Wow, your story is way better than mine.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things where, you know, when I think about pay-per-view, like 2016 was just one of those things like, because I was trying to like get people where I was living in Western Mass, like super into the UFC. I'm like, you guys got to get into this. I'm telling you, like, do not miss the boat. And I tried like setting up these different like watch parties, these like viewing parties at like different bars they used to host trivia at. And the first one that I actually like convinced the owner to do was UFC 200. And I was like, you're going to get John Jones versus Daniel Cormier, man. Like this is happening. And then he's off the card and we get Nunes versus Tate as the new main event. He's like, I remember I brought John Howard down when he was still fighting for the UFC. He came in and like met people and like people knew who he was. And
Doomsday.
I remember
Shout out to Doomsday.
Shout out to Doomsday. And I remember the owner of the bar like that night was like, you son of a bitch. You cost me a whole bunch of money because no one came because John Jones is out of the fight. And I remember just like, damn it, John Jones. But then we did it again for UFC 205 and he's like, okay. Even my dad came to that one. Even my dad was like, this is awesome. I get what you've been saying all these years. You were right. I had a great time. So yeah, 2016 will hold a special place in my heart for a lot of that. But I got to tell you, I cannot effing wait for the ESPN era to be over. The ESPN app is trash. It's so bad. I cannot wait to cancel that whole entire subscription. I tried to the other day. But then they're like, we'll give it to you for like $3.99 for the next 3 months. I was like, fine, $3.99.
Take it.
Can watch some Bruins games. It's fine.
It's so bizarre because, you know, I'm in Canada, so I'm in this alternate world where I've never had to deal with ESPN Plus. We don't have ESPN, so obviously we don't have ESPN Plus. So like we have Fight Pass, which some prelims around there, and then we have it on our cable. So I've seen people like complain about this for years, and I'm like, I guess I dodged that bullet. And I'm sure people in the chat from other countries also can agree. They just never had to deal with apparently this ESPN Plus streaming nightmare.
What happened with the Duncan McKinney rebetting? So, you know, once in a while on these cards, we get word from people on Twitter about some significant line movement in a Pretty quick amount of time. Chris Duncan, this is from a tweet from Uncle Wheezy. Quote, Chris Duncan's money line has gone from minus 190 earlier in the week to minus 110 now. Ton of money coming in on Terrence McKinney. Unusually large move for a money line on weigh-in day. Wonder what's going on there. I don't know, because I don't know anything about this. But I think as of right now, let me just take a look at FanDuel and see if like it has moved dramatically since I last looked at it. Like if we see Chris Duncan as like a plus 200 tomorrow, we have a problem. We probably have a problem on our hands.
I would say call the fight off. I would go that far and say, UFC, you may want to step in now and just say.
FanDuel's got Duncan as a minus 122 favorite. So, yeah, obviously that line has moved a bunch. But Terrence McKinney is also one of those dudes that, like, people love. And they probably saw him media day and was like, oh, he's fighting on this card? That's a dude who, like, always finishes people or gets in, like, crazy-ass fights. But we'll see. We'll take a look at it tomorrow. If by the time we do the People's Free Fight show and McKinney's like a minus 175 favorite, may want to do a little something. Maybe a phone call or two needs to be made.
I would say just stick with the safe thing and just parlay the under. That's, I think, no matter what, whoever you think is going to win this fight, it's going to end in under 1.5. Now, seeing this line move, I'm even more confident because if Terrence wins, it's going to be in like 45 seconds. That's what Terrence does. And Chris Duncan can finish too. I could see him either finishing in first or maybe making people sweat a little and early in the second. But yeah, if you're going to bet on that one, I don't know, man, guys, let's look a little fishy right now. Let's look a fishy. Maybe just stay away other than as far as for picking a winner and just go with the round wager.
Yeah, we're going. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. What's the? I'm trying to see what the. Let me look at this real quick. I want to see what the over under is on that fight, because that's like where you bet it all the time. Under 1.5 is minus 375.
Yeah, obviously. Like I said, that's what I say. Parlay.
So
That's a parlay piece to me. That's a parlay.
Yeah,
you don't
100%.
bet that straight. What's the point? Would you bet that straight?
Yeah.
Don't bet on it.
Mike and AK, how will you remember Henry Cejudo? What moments do you remember the most? Try to think outside the box as opposed to the obvious retirement.
An incredibly annoying human being. I mean, just I'm so sorry. So Henry, if you're out there, obviously as a competitor, like I think one of the greatest combat sports athletes ever. It doesn't need to be reiterated too many times, but like I do think he took so many missteps that could have made him like truly one of the most beloved fighters in American history. I think you're talking about a guy who represented the country at the Olympics, always great. Was at one point the youngest person to ever win a gold medal in wrestling. So his story going into MMA was already inspirational. And then, but made it to the UFC pretty quickly. I think everyone knew, like everyone said, for sure, this guy has all the tools to be a champion. And he showed it. There was some lumps early on, obviously some issues with making weight. That was a problem. And, he needed to round out his game like anyone, right? The striking wasn't what it is now. The striking he was certainly very advanced for his age, but it wasn't where it was now. He eventually becomes a complete fighter. He becomes a champion at Flyweight, wins a, fairly controversial win over Demetrius Johnson, the greatest flyweight of all time. But hey, a decision is a decision, right? I don't agree with it. I thought DJ won that fight. Doesn't matter what I think. Two judges said Henry Cejudo won that fight. He becomes a flyweight champion, beats Cejudo Taira, later becomes the bantamweight champion. It's just the retirement. Mike, you have guys, listen to Mike. Google Mike Heck and Cejudo if you want to hear his thoughts on Cejudo's first retirement, which I think you consider one of the worst.
It is the worst. It is the worst retirement in the history of any known sporting entity. Is the worst retirement.
It was so bad.
Of all. It was the worst retirement ever.
It was so bad. He played he kind of played there's so many parts for that are bad. One of them was clearly like he was leaving because he wasn't getting paid enough money, and he seemed to think he had leverage. Like, oh, but the door's open for your return. If that checkbook ever opens up, never opened up. Stayed coffin shut. So Henry, thank you for your contributions. Goodbye. And he lost so many years of his prime because of that. And listen, I hope he spent that time off happy. I know he started a family. Great. I hope he has no regrets about his first retirement, because I'm sure he did many great things during that in his personal life and professionally, business wise, in that time off. But from a fan perspective, there were so many more fights he had. There was so much more resume building he had to do, and he for sure could have closed his career out as one of the 5 best MMA fighters of all time. He was that good. And he just really walked away too early. and then expected everyone to, one, be begging for him to come back, and two, to view what he had done already as placing him among the greats. And MMA just doesn't work that way. There's a longevity element to it, and he fell so short of that longevity element, unfortunately. And then the comeback has just been really tough to watch, despite a really great performance against Aljamain Sterling. But loss, right? I said a win is a win, loss, a loss. So yeah, a little disappointing in some ways, which is crazy when we're talking about 2 division champion, Olympic gold medalist, and a future UFC Hall of Famer. But it's kind of how I view it.
It was so bad. Like, it was just so bad.
I'm sorry I brought it up, Mike. I'm really sorry I brought it up.
Because as Jed beautifully pointed out on BTL yesterday, he beat Dominic Cruz in that fight, who hadn't fought in 4 years. He was out for 4 years, and he was coming off a loss. Like, that was the win you decided was like, I'm at the peak of my powers, I'm done. And you know what's funny? He would have fought Petr Yan next, and if he had beat Petr Yan in that next fight, then he could have done it. He could have done it and may have gotten what he wanted, but he did it on that day where the UFC is like trying to like change their entire business. We're trying to keep this train rolling while everybody stops. And he tried to make it about himself. And Dana showed up at the press conference and was like, all right, cool. Petr Yan's going to fight for the bantamweight title next against somebody else. And I thought it was like the just most ridiculous thing ever. And I would have forgiven a lot of that too, AK, if he just shut up. If he just didn't go on Twitter every week after a flyweight or a bantamweight fight and said, I would beat that guy, I might come back. And then 3 years later, like, still didn't. And then finally did after all this time. And at that point, like, he had annoyed people so much that, like, no one wanted him back. Like, no one asked for him to come back. And it's too bad too, because he literally could have just fought one more time after UFC 249, and he probably would have had, I'm not gonna say he had like a ton of leverage, but I bet the UFC would have like taken him out to dinner on the following Monday and said, like, let's talk about this, as opposed to, all right, cool, Petr Yan versus the next guy is the next fight we're making. We're not even gonna like throw Henry a goodbye party or anything. We're just gonna like kick his ass out the door and lock it behind us. Like, it was just unbelievable. And then the annoying stuff on Twitter of like trying to come back and maybe I'll come back, maybe I won't. And it was just so bad. And I think he's been great this week. Honestly, I think he's been really great this week. And if you watch his like media days and stuff, like you remember like why we always like respected him, because he's so deep and he's so analytical on the media day stuff. He's so well thought out, so well spoken a lot of times. Like, he reflects on things so well. And then he shows up at a press conference and you're just like, ugh. But even like the press conference yesterday, he was fine. Like, I don't know. Jed wrote a mailbag column and like he laid it out perfectly. I think it's not going to be viewed as his career. Like when we look back on it, it's not going to be viewed. It's not going to age gracefully, even regardless of the accolades, because we can't not think about the first retirement. We can't not think about that. Like, that's such a big part of the story. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know, top 75, like greatest fighters ever. Maybe less.
You
50?
can go high. You can go higher than that. But top,
dude, 75 is really good.
I know, but I mean, considering his accolades, 2 division champion, all this stuff, some of the wins he's had. I mean, you got to count the DJ win, right? Whether controversial or not. I still don't think it was a robbery. I think there's an argument for. I haven't watched that fight in a while. I think there's an argument for Henry. I definitely scored it for DJ in the moment. I'll never forget that. But he's got good quality of wins.
Top 40.
I think top 30.
Wow. Okay.
I'll say.
I'm not arguing against it, by the way. I'm kind of curious how like people would rate him overall.
It's just such a shame because in addition to the retirement, like that he chose to go the persona, he chose to embrace, and it's not just him. It's not his fault. This is a hate the don't hate the player, hate the game situation, right? The UFC and whatever combat sports, I guess in general, this past 20 years seems to reward crap talking and having a personality that, whether it's good or bad, gets people talking. And so he chose to go the other way. He chose to be like somewhat heelish and be annoying, and that's fine. And maybe that did help him, gain some more notoriety. I understand that's very important. You're building a brand, but then at the end of the day, you have to accept that that's part of your legacy, right? Jed, Jed coming in top 50 and closer to 50 than 10. Gosh darn it. But again, the fact that we're having this conversation says so much about how he mishandled his career. And again, the persona is, it shouldn't have so much to do with it, but it does. It does. And he chose that, guys. He chose, I'm the king of cringe. I'm going to, like you said, I'm going to use my social media and troll all these people and throw out all these childish insults and blah, blah, say all this stupid stuff. And again, if that worked for you in the moment and made you popular, great. But that is now part of your legacy. That is always, you do not get to rewrite your legacy in the future and say, oh, well, I only did it because of this. Really, my goal, I want to represent the sport, blah, blah. It's like, no, you put your brand and you put your whatever trolling behavior over the sport. That's okay, but you have to accept that. You have to accept that. That's what you wanted us to perceive in the moment. That is how we will perceive it for the rest of time. And again, you don't need to love you in this business, but if we're talking about all-time greats, we got to factor these things in. So I'm higher than you guys are, apparently top 30, but so much was left on the table. Boy, so much was left on the table.
Do you like this? Do you like this matchmaking?
I love it only because I'd never thought of it. I would never think to match them up. I think assuming Peyton doesn't just kill him, which I find that
I think Henry has a really good chance to win.
We've said this about a number of matchups in this card, but we said this about Pantoja and Van. Like, there's the grown man strength, there's the experience. He has added his wrestling career, he has like 50 times the experience of Peyton Talbot. We're just talking about combat sports. But yeah, I get it. He hasn't won a fight in X amount of years. Didn't look amazing in the song fight for sure. If you go watch the song fight, there's a lot to look at there and be like, ooh, like imagine if this, but someone who's maybe like faster than Song, maybe someone who can hit harder than Song, then you're really worried for Henry. But the skill gap on paper should be enormous here. It should be enormous. But again, this is why you fight the fights. That's why I find it so interesting. Like, I think they're thinking exactly what we're thinking. Is this guy final fight, 1 foot out the door, just ready to get hit and just curl up in a ball, or did he take this matchup because he knows, like, I'm getting this kid way before Peyton Talbot is like, peak Peyton Talbot, and what a nice win to go out on, to say I beat a guy who could be a future, top 10 guy, future title contender.
Like, the more I think of it, I'm like, who else could it be? Like, Loke Dog, I think, might have been like an interesting one because he's starting to like get over. David Martinez might have been a nice one.
Yeah,
there because he's on the come up. Like, it has to be like a young up and comer, and yeah, Peyton's obviously a guy they see something in, no doubt about it. But Peyton also like just lost a very like similar style fight to Raoni Barcelos literally 11 months ago. And Cejudo is probably more effective at that aspect of fighting than Raoni is, even though Raoni, that loss is aging tremendously well every day for Peyton Talbot. So it is interesting. If Peyton just goes out and clobbers Cejudo, it's so big. Like, that's such a big moment for him.
Yeah.
And one thing I will give Henry a lot of credit for is something, and someone mentioned in the comments, and I'll mention it here. When I spoke to Peyton Talbot, Henry has gone out of his way to help other fighters, like advise them on, hey, this is what you need to look for. Don't let people screw you over. This is what you should do. This is what if you're smart, you should do this. He's trying to advise like the younger generation of fighter of like, don't make the mistakes I made. And I think we give them a little bit of, a little tip of the cap for that, but I hope that if this retirement sticks, and I think it's going to, because I think even he's been saying like, Dana will probably just cut me anyways, so this is it. I hope he just like leaves gracefully and does not do what he did last time, where like every time a fight happens at bantamweight, he's like, I could have beat Merab. I could still beat him. I could beat that dude. I can't stand that shit, and hopefully that doesn't happen anymore. So,
do you think he does Real American Freestyle? Jose said it was asked during this week, and he doesn't sound like super. But I think it's because he's maybe not. Maybe he hasn't kept an eye on it, because I think their Real American Freestyle is doing some interesting stuff with the way they use UFC veterans. Well, active UFC fighters. I'm not going to say veterans. Active UFC fighters. Some veterans coming up. We just saw Colby and he's an active fighter. Colby and Luke Rockhold. Yeah. Isn't he not a natural? At least once, right? Isn't he not a natural fit for that?
Yeah, I think he'd be fine for that. Sure.
I think he does it. Jose said probably not.
I could see him being more like I could see him like investing in it. And like being like on the promotional side. Yep. God, do not let him commentate. Are you kidding me?
He's a great analyst.
Have you seen some of the names that he would try to pronounce? Did we not learn anything from the Eagle FC days? That was the worst. He was the worst commentator in the history of sports. It was so. We watched just to like make a drinking game out of it, essentially.
He can pronounce who's the guy Bilal Muhammad's fighting? He can pronounce David Carr. He can pronounce.
Well, he can pronounce that.
Some of the UFC guys. Well, no, I don't know. Maybe not.
Hold on a second.
Listen, at least he's got a podcast.
Oh God. Oh no, we can't. Yeah, that's gonna be tough scenes. That podcast is not doing Kamaru Usman any favors. I can tell you that right now.
I don't know what you mean, Mike. He's about to fight for the welterweight title, so I think it's doing him some incredible favors.
Hold on one second. I'm gonna slack you. I'm gonna slack you this name, and I want you to grade. Okay. I want you to grade how well Henry Cejudo would do pronouncing this.
I'll
name.
just say how he'll say it. He would. Oh boy, this is Mahmoud Kabib.
Muhammad Khabib.
Yeah, no, but this is how he would say it. This is Mahmoud Kabib. Mahmoud Kabib Kadzamamadou. That's where he would land on it. Yeah, Mahmoud Kabib Kadzamamadou. Yeah. Wow, that's an RF guy.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise, that's
Olympic wrestler.
Muhammad Khabib Kadzi Mahamadou. Okay, yeah, that's a hard one though. I mean, anyone of us would struggle with that, but that would be really fun.
I'd pay pay-per-view prices.
That's why they got to do it, Mike.
I'd pay pay-per-view prices to see him doing that. No, but in all seriousness, like, we'll see what happens. I'm curious to see how the UFC kind of handles it today as well. Or tomorrow. Will you get the tribute video and all that?
You have to.
I think yeah. I mean, if you give it to like Carlos Esparza and like Michelle Watterson, I think you have to give it to Henry Cejudo.
Those are so good. You have to. Yeah. Win or lose. But he better walk away. Otherwise, I think Jose.
Yeah, this is it, man.
Jose said Dana will burn his gloves if they give him a video and he says he will burn the gloves in the cage. Yeah.
If he pulls a Jordan Belfort, I'm not effing leaving.
And I'm not leaving. You could see him doing. If he wins, there's a very good chance he cuts some sort of promo like that. I just know it.
Jed points out they gave one to Anthony Smith.
They did. Well deserved.
The legend.
Well deserved.
The legend. All right. I think we've talked about this card enough. Yeah. By the way, I know Lazy Bed will appreciate this and others as well. As AZ Ray Videos points out, Karate Combat.
Oh, yeah.
We will be Jed and I will be covering said Karate Combat tonight. So we will be on KC duty. So stick with us at MMAfighting.com. It's a great website. And we'll be all over it.
Mike, I am legitimately interested in Sam Alvey versus Rebel. Like, I know everyone's just predicting Rebels to do what he's been doing in KC and win the fight in 7 seconds. But I don't know. Like, Sam's been around, man. Like, I feel like Sam. I don't know if he's gonna win. I think he can survive the Rebel's rush, at least early on. No, there's takedowns in KC, right? Aren't there like limited takedowns? You slam people.
I don't think so.
No. Oh, there's definitely slams. No.
I mean, they've had like grappling matches, but I don't know if it's like full on MMA.
I've already kind of had some like limited. I swear there's some. Not that it will matter because I mean, Rafael's probably bigger than him, so it's going to be very difficult to imagine doing anything. I'm just saying. I'll take over 7.5 seconds.
Wow. I think Rebellis touches him one time.
It's over. I mean, that's how he's been in KC, man. You could watch it. You guys want to see Rebellis? I'm sure someone's done a super cut out there. The video is about 18 seconds long of all his Karate Combat fights.
Yeah. Well, follow along. We'll have you covered. People's Free Fight Show, 5:15 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Join me. We'll get ready for UFC 323 watch party tomorrow night. It's going to be a good time, everybody. For AK, I am Mike Heck. Bye-bye.